of first-degree murder with use of a deadly weapon.
A case many in our valley have been following for years. Robert Tellez, the former Clark County public administrator, guilty of murdering reporter Jeff Gehrman.
This was a crime, in our opinion, that was clearly premeditated.
Today, Gehrman's family finding closure.
The tragic and brutal taking of his life has resulted in a loss that I don't think he'll recover.
Justice now served in a case Las Vegas and many across the nation won't soon forget. Robert Tellez will spend the rest of his life in prison with the possibility of parole. Thank you so much for joining us here on Channel 13, live at 6. I'm Joe Muller.
And I'm Abel Garcia. The jury returning the verdict for the former politician convicted of murdering Las Vegas Review-Journal reporter Jeff Gehrman in September of 2022.
Senior reporter Alyssa Bethencourt has been at the courthouse all day, and she joins us live tonight with the very latest.
Abel and Joe, just a huge day in this trial. We now know that Robert Tellez will be in prison for the rest of his life with the possibility of parole after 20 years. You can see I'm joined here by our senior reporter, Jaewon Jung. She has been covering this trial for the past 2 weeks. Today, of course, Jaewon, the biggest day of the trial thus far. But something that was really interesting to see and hear was Jeff Gehrman's family. We really have not heard from them in the past 2 years since the reporter was murdered, and now we do have a better idea of who he was beyond just his position and how he served the Las Vegas community.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say Jeff Gehrman's family has been very dedicated. They've been coming to pretty much every single proceeding in this trial. And today, for the first time, we heard from them, and it was some emotional testimony. And, you know, a lot of people know Jeff Gehrman, the dogged investigative reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. But today, we finally found out more about Jeff Gehrman, the person. He grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He was the oldest brother out of 4 siblings. He loved sports. He loved going out. And, of course, he loved uncovering corruption, and that's what made him so famous in the city of Las Vegas. Pretty much everybody in our community knew who he was, and this soundbite that I just want to toss to from his sister Jill absolutely just gave me goosebumps inside the courtroom. It was so emotional. Take a listen to what she had to say.
These past 2 years, it felt like I've been living in a chapter of a murder novel as it unfolds. One that my brother Jeff could have written, entitled Murder in Sin City Part 2, The Death of a Journalist. I never imagined that Jeff himself would have become a national headline news story for his murder by a cold-blooded elected city official in broad daylight. But in typical Jeff fashion, he was able to have his attacker identified and locked up behind bars after his own murder.
Wow, just some powerful words right there. Doesn't that just give you goosebumps?
Absolutely. And when I heard it, you know, I was watching the live stream, you were up in the courtroom, but every single member of his family had such beautiful words to share, and just them saying they never imagined that Jeff Gehrman would become the headline. Very impactful, moving moments inside of that courtroom today. And of course, they must be relieved to see that justice has finally been served.
Some closure for them.
Absolutely. Not only that, Jaewon, but something that was also surprising for me to listen to was Robert Tellez's family. They really have not been in front of the cameras at all since all of this happened. Robert Tellez has spoken with you quite a few times, and I do know that, but Robert Tellez's family, again, behind the scenes, and today we saw them really crying. We heard them saying that they love him. What was that like watching that unfold?
Well, it was pretty surprising because they have not been coming to any proceeding at all during this trial. So seeing them in person and seeing them get emotional while they were on the stand was pretty surprising to everybody, and they were really just telling the jurors to give him mercy. You have to remember, Tellez had a family of his own. He had 3 children. He had a stepson. He had 2 daughters, one from a previous marriage, and you know, this impacts his family too.
It does, and that's something that we don't talk about often, the impact that this has on his family. But I know that his mother also spoke out today, and that was a pretty emotional moment for her as well.
Absolutely. Take a listen to what she had to say.
I ask you to please, I accept the verdict. And if you could please give my son a chance of parole. His family is still very young, and I would like for him to someday be back with them again. Please.
And right after Tellis's mother went off the stand, I saw her face Tellis, telling him, "I love you, son," and then walking out. And Tellis was really breaking down pretty much the entirety of his family testimony. So he definitely got emotional as well.
And that was almost a last minute thing, because I know the defense had almost finished questioning her and she took a moment to say, wait a second, can I have one more opportunity to look at the jury and talk to them, begging for that extra time that he could possibly spend with his family at some point. Now we know that he will be spending his life in prison, but he will have that opportunity after 20 years. I do want to ask you something, because there are some enhancements that the judge can make, right, based off of everything that happened today. What exactly does that look like?
Yeah, those enhancements are because this was willful, deliberate, and premeditated. The jury unanimously found this. The jury also unanimously found that this was by means of lying in wait. They also found that it was by means of elderly abuse. So because of those enhancements, the judge on October 16th will put a sentence on top of the sentence that the jury returned today.
Very important to mention. Jaywan, thank you so much. Very dedicated to this trial today. Again, you guys, a huge day in the Robert Tellis trial. Not only did we hear a verdict, but now we know what his sentence will be. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.